Hello and welcome back to Cinephiles. This is season 2, episode 2 of Cinephiles, talking about episode 4, aka The Chode Less Trastress. I'm T. Casey, joined by Mike Andronico. How are you doing today, Mike?
I am doing fantastic. Yeah, it's the first time in a while doing. It feels nice having a TV show to repeatedly come back to for the first time on the show. It's very different. But yeah, currently just thawing out from this New York cold that we're dealing with right now. It's just walking the dog. Um, but you know what? I got some coffee in me. I got John Cena on the brain, and yeah, ready to keep the peace, as it were.
Yeah, peace. Keep it. But as we start the show today, I sort of want to go over a little bit of research because the end of the last episode, I don't know if there's a Wikipedia corner this week, but the end of the last episode brought up an interesting question that this week started out with. Can you walk without a pinky toe? And I did some research, and yeah, no, Vigilante's dead ass wrong. Um, uh, Dr. Ann Holly Johnson, interviewed by, an instructor in orthopedic surgery at Harvard Medical School, told Popular Science that if you're born without a pinky toe or have an accident or a smooth, you can completely do everything you wanted to do. And I just got a notification, so I am concerned what that is about. But I'm going to assume everything is okay, um, because I can't see what that notification is. And if I close Discord or do something different, you're going to disappear. So, Mike, anything to report to us today from Mike Andronico's Wiki Corner?
Yeah, not a whole ton. I think worth noting is that episode 4, the Chode Less Traveled, which is incredible name. The first episode in the series not directed by James Gunn. This was directed by Jody Hill, who I'm not very familiar with.
I
But
did
this is the
some
first.
research actually about Jody Hill because the name was familiar because Jody Hill made his debut and made his name on a movie called The Foot Fist Way,
Oh, yep.
and famous for the TV show Eastbound and Down, and currently executive producer on another HBO Max original, The Righteous Gemstones, which is really good,
Okay,
and y'all should
that
watch.
makes I think that makes him a perfect fit for the series. Another just and yeah, the only other really quick tidbit of info I had, still riding really high on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know if the score has changed, but as of right now, 94% tomato meter, 85% audience score. So Peacemaker E4 still doing very well out there in the world of critical consensus.
Exactly. And I noticed something weird this episode that I'm just going to bring it up now. Did did you notice the obvious reshoots?
No.
I don't know if it was a CGI background or what, but everything about the scenes outside of the jail with
Mm.
Adebayo and Vigilante, the background is so bokeh to an extreme blurry effect that I was like, and also the scale of Vigilante's body on the background, like go back and watch it. It's weird. Like there is you almost feel like you're watching something on green screen. Um,
Mm.
and this might be because um, after shooting 5.5 episodes, they had to recast Vigilante.
Really?
So the actor
Wow.
Chris Conrad, who I believe is older than John Cena, or at least visually older than John Cena by a noticeable amount, was the original Vigilante, but reportedly left after quote unquote creative differences. Um, I guess Tony Khan said he didn't like his wrestling, but no, it's yeah, and then you have this new Vigilante show who is younger than Cena, um, and it's a very interesting change. And I think they probably had to change up the relationship of the two characters
Huh.
in a little way because of that.
It's really funny you mention that because one of my we'll get into just kind of high level thoughts right now. One of my big takeaways from this episode is this really felt like Vigilante's breakout episode, and this was the episode that made me fall in love with that character. He had so many great moments and great story beats. So yeah, I'm very grateful that Freddie Stroma ended up being the one to play this character because I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah, this was definitely a Freddie Stroma joint episode, but also there's a lot of I think John Cena. This was yet another. Like he might have scenes stolen from him, but he's not gonna have his show taken from him. He's
No.
yeah. So the other thing about this episode for me is I think we have to talk about the elephant or the butterfly in the room up front, because did you
Hmm.
watch this episode twice like I did?
I did not.
Okay, if I had to watch it back because the ending of the episode, watching the episode knowing the ending was the
Mm.
biggest, like, the Sixth Sense fuckery that I've had in a while.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the episode, we find out that Myrn is in fact also a butterfly.
Which I kind of, yeah, shocker, right? I mean, I always I knew something was up with Murn. Like he seemed just little too stoic, a little too. There's something about him that seemed otherworldly. That he wasn't just an ordinary dude. Thought maybe he was a Martian Manhunter, maybe he was something else. But I was not. It was a very cool ending, and I definitely was like, oh shit. But
I didn't
not the
catch
biggest
it. I
shock.
was shocked.
Yeah, like I don't know. I thought because I forgot maybe it was episode 1 or 2 when they were talking about like he never expressed an emotion or he had this very he had this weird way of expressing himself compared to the others, and I thought that was to purposely throw us off. I thought Myrn, I thought they made Myrn a little suspect in the beginning to purposely uh confuse us and make us forget about who might be the actual butterflies. But yeah, he is a butterfly, which I'm not totally surprised about, but that definitely throws a big wrinkle into things for our crew going forward.
Because they're trying to kill the butterflies and they have one in their. And this makes me wonder, are there renegade butterflies? Are there
Right.
two
Yeah.
factions of butterflies at battle, and he's a an evil butterfly, and like what we might be learning is that like the ones on the other side of the divide are like, because judo
Yeah.
match or whatever the hell to it, but like judo match makes me think that they're good butterflies.
Yeah, it's very possible, and it's interesting because like Myrn is ostensibly the leader of this task force. So does Amanda Waller know he's a butterfly? Like, how deep does this go? But that was an interesting tidbit. But I definitely just some overall thoughts I want to share about this episode. This was a really interesting one for me. I feel like it's the slowest episode we've gotten so far, and definitely not in a bad way. I think this was us kind of taking a step back, recovering from the chaos and the big climax of episode 3. I also think this was the darkest episode so far, and things got a lot more serious. I think we spent a lot of time delving into Peacemaker's relationship with his father. We got some flashbacks that were really telling and really poignant. And with all that said, still plenty of very hilarious moments as we'll get into. Not a ton of action this episode, though I did enjoy the little bit of Peacemaker versus Judo Master that we got. Um, so a good episode overall. Definitely, it was kind of the slower, more serious episode I think we needed at this point to kind of keep the story going.
Yeah, I agree. It also just like set up some weird little things. Um, so at one point we learned that a gorilla has been stolen or is missing at the local zoo, which makes me think that's going to show up as a plot point. Like, I don't think James Gunn puts that in a because he wrote the episode. I don't think that happens without it being a returning thing. But the title of the episode is actually sort of just a reference to just what we later learn, in that it's sort of the theme of the show, in that John Cena's Peacemaker is going to grow as a human being over time. He's not. He might be. He might be a butt baby at the start
He's a
of the
grower.
suicide.
He's a grower, not a
Yeah,
shower.
he might have been a butt baby in Suicide Squad, but he might be a full. He might be a quasi human by the end of this thing.
Yeah.
Um, but the episode starts with a lot of the reaction to what happened last time. As we said, Vigilante is concerned about his pinky toe. Um,
Hmm.
Leota Adebayo is very much in her feelings about the her inability to um was that yeah
Finish
she
the job basically.
to yeah
Fire the
to
gun.
kill
Yeah.
kill a guy. She has a
To kill a
debate.
dude.
Yeah, her and Hardcore have an argument, and that was the part of the episode that made me less sure about my conspiracy theory that Adebayo is some sort of secret, like beyond the fact that we know that she's a Waller's secret daughter. Um,
Hmm.
but it made me a little bit less certain. But I do think later on when she shoots Judo Master almost like dead, like target practice in the chest, that made me think, oh, So she does know something to cover up. So there is that.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite line in the beginning of the episode was, "Don't fuck with John Economos, motherfucker."
Yes. Oh, it was so good. Yeah, there were so many little moments. Even right before the van scene, just even before the intro credits, they're all discussing what happened. And then Judo Master starts waking up, and they all point their guns at him. It was just one of those great like visual moments. It was a James Gunn classic. But yeah, a couple of highlights for me. I mean, yeah, like I said before, just everything Vigilante did this episode. That back and forth with him and Peacemaker. The if it walks like a duck exchange.
Just
And
seeing,
yeah, you might know the line better than I do, but he's like, if it walks like a duck, and it totally goes over Peacemaker's head, and he says, "Why would a human wear a duck suit? Their sizes are totally incompatible." Just very hilarious right off the bat.
no, just the amazing passive aggressive conversation where you don't even know if Vigilante's being passive aggressive on purpose. Like
Yeah.
the thing about the if you don't know the Vigilante's being passive aggressive on purpose, because as Peacemaker says in the episode, he's a little cuckoo. Like it's because that whole the entire insertion of Vigilante into the show.
Mm-hmm.
At first, you think, oh, this is a character to help Peacemaker seem a little less dumb, but at the same time, it's also a character to help Peacemaker grow because it gives him like a little brother,
Yeah.
and we later learn that he had a big brother. It sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it looked like he killed Joss. It did. Am I right, or did Peacemaker kill Joss Whedon? That looked like that scene in that flashback. That looked like
Oh,
that guy looked suspiciously like Joss Whedon to me. I'm hoping that the
that
DCEU
that'd
is
be a pretty fun.
eradicating. Yeah,
That'd be a pretty fun, subtle jab. Damn, I didn't
yeah,
know James. I know he had heat with James Gunn like that.
yeah. But the passive aggressiveness between Vigilante and Peacemaker, when there's like Vigilante, it was really great that you let me grow by being tortured and being in excruciating pain. You didn't act like you didn't care about it at all. That was really thank you. I was
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
it was like the amazingness of trying to figure out who's actually acting in that,
Yep.
who's putting on airs, I guess you could say. Um,
Yeah.
but then when we get home, and we still haven't learned this person's name to my knowledge, but Peacemaker's dad's passive aggressive neighbor.
Oh my god, the best, probably the best scene in the episode. Yeah.
Because Mike, do you have a coterie of supervillains?
I don't, because they're all 6 feet in the fucking ground. That whole exchange went from, not only was it hilarious, it really made me love Peacemaker because that line of when he said, long story short, the old neighbor from the first episode, calling out Peacemaker, basically saying, "Why are you not more like Batman?" But yeah, he said, "Why don't you have a cadre of supervillains?" And Peacemaker basically responds saying, "They're all 6 feet in the ground," which I thought was just the coldest line. But then he goes on to they go on to have kind of a genuine discussion about Batman, and Peacemaker is just making all the logical points that we do as fans. Saying
Like
yeah,
Batman
no,
should kill
yeah,
these guys because he's just letting them kill other people. How many people is Batman responsible for the deaths of? And
yeah,
it's
exactly.
James Gunn has clearly had either done a little bit of Reddit research or just had his own history of his own opinions about characters that he's feeding in through the show. Um,
Hmm.
but I have my own coterie of supervillains: depression, anxiety, the Google algorithm, other wrestling fans, and my metabolic rates. That was my other idea for the open for this episode with a cold open was, so Mike, tell me about your coterie of supervillains. But
God.
another piece of foreshadowing in this whole part of the episode is when Vigilante and Peacemaker go inside of the and Peacemaker explains the science logic behind the Infinity Room, as I'll call it from now.
Hmm.
But Vigilante notices the gap in the White Dragon armor. Vigilante noticed gaps where the fabric or whatever wasn't meeting in the White Dragon armor, and it was a really interesting because later in the episode, Vigilante sort of is about to try to take on and kill Augie,
Yes.
but
Which.
he's also prepared. He's they're setting up round two of that in the whole Augie. If Vigilante knows where to stab
Mhm.
with the White Dragon, it's an interesting gambit.
Yeah, and just so just to take a step back and get into some other scenes I really love. So obviously, kind of the whole crux of this episode is that Augie's in jail now, which Chris didn't know about until he went home and realized that the Argus team took him to jail. So that leads to some really fun exchanges. I think Adebayo and Peacemaker had some really great moments in the car where he's like, "I'm not going to kill my dad because I love him." He's like, "My dad and I both hate crime, and he makes me stuff." And yeah, then we get Peacemaker visits Augie in prison. That's where we get the title of this episode from, because Peacemaker gives the great like "I'm a grower, not a shower" line, and Augie calls him out for comparing himself to a chode. To which later we pick that back up later because Adebayo's like, "Oh, I think you're the good kind of chode." So just a lot of fun. It's both very, very heartfelt and very fun because we're learning about just Peacemaker's insecurity and his very troubled relationship with his dad and wanting to be loved and accepted, but he's also doing it by comparing himself to a small penis. So I think it's the kind of thing that James Gunn does best.
Like Peacemaker, like Augie says, "I should have killed you when you came out of your mother." I think he said something like that. He said something
Yep.
like ridiculously evil, heinous, and like
And it seems like we don't know much about the brother yet, but it seems like that's the son that Augie actually loved,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
it
Yeah.
sort of seems like I made the wrong decision about who to choose, kind of situation here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, while Peacemaker and Adebayo are no, sorry, while Peacemaker is talking to his father, he goes to visit him in jail because he's
Mhm.
why did you put my one while we have a conversation between Vigilante and Adebayo, which is the thing I was talking about earlier. Like seriously, go back and watch this. I like, especially when the camera is just on Vigilante, the perspective and ratio seems, or at least the obvious bokeh effect on the background. The green screening is weird,
Mm.
but out of Vigilante has all of this fake voice and walk bit of trying to hide the fact that he is
Oh
this
my
guy.
god. It was such a great continuation of his bit from the last episode where he was trying to change his face so no one would see. So now he was doing the same thing with his voice, and of course, Adebayo's like, "No, I know it's you." But that leads to a really important conversation because that's where Adebayo, basically says like, I just wish Augie was dead. Like I think she's saying I think Chris is a good guy, but as long as his father is around, he's always gonna be held back by that. And that plants, I think, the idea in Vigilante's brain to do what he ends up doing later in the episode.
Yeah, Peacemaker can only be good if his father wasn't here somehow. And
She's in a very like innocent Adebayo way of like trying to find a really nice way to say let's kill this guy.
but Myrn is like obviously like, it's like, you're manipulating him, and it's probably obvious because it's obvious to us, the audience, at least.
Yeah.
Um, but and so we basically Myrn gets really upset when he finds out about that. He's like, we were already we like Vigilante's gone inside the jail. What if he gets killed? We're gonna be down another man trying to. And what happens when Peacemaker learns that we tried to get his dad killed? Like it's gonna be
Yeah.
the four of us because he calls them. What was it? He refers to the group as like I don't know, the Apple Gang or something.
Hmm.
It's a
Hmm.
really old reference, and Economist sort of points that out. But it's very weird in that it's just sort of like, oh, this is a misfits team, basically, is what they're calling them here.
Yeah. They must be some kind of Suicide Squad, is what I'm saying. But
Um,
so if one, as things progress, so we get that exchange between Argus and we're setting all this stuff up with Adebayo and what they're going to do about White Dragon. Um, shortly after that, Economos is just checking, goes to check on Judo Master, and lo and behold, our little Judo Master has escaped, uh, which leads to a quick little fight between the two of them in a parking lot, which I thought was really fun, but it gets ended pretty abruptly because what happens, Henry?
well, this is a big rematch. Peacemaker was going to win that fight, um, but he doesn't get a chance to. Because Adebayo just point blank. But it's funny because like it's all Peacemaker is very Cena in this part because he's like very excited to finally get his revenge, and he's walking on a parking lot looking for him, and he finally finds Judo Master. But before that, I have to say it all happens because Judo Master breaks loose of his like confines or whatever. But it's really funny because frickin' Economos doesn't know where he is,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets to jump on Economos. And then when Adebayo and Peacemaker find out she's on a call with Economos, and she yells, "Cobra Kai's got out." I love that nickname. I love that nickname
Yes.
because I've never seen a Karate Kid movie, or I only saw Three Ninjas, and it's probably because of Three Ninjas is why I don't take Cobra Kai seriously. I think, but I'm
Yeah.
never going to watch a Cobra Kai, and it's sort of like one of those like I think a lot of us. I'm not going to name names here. Have just decided we're not going to watch shows that are popular that other people try to pressure them into watching. But
Yeah.
it's a
I
thing.
don't know why people are. I don't know why people are like that, but it
People are
bums me
bad.
out.
It's really weird and mean. But um, yeah, it's so basically you have this whole bit where like they're really worried about they gotta stop him because he's escaped, and Economos is like
Yeah.
bloody nosed and destroyed, and like they get and uh Judo Master makes the jump from a top of a truck onto Peacemaker, and it's very much like a Cobra Kai show, like a kids karate show or
Yes.
something. It's very
Yep.
funny in that way. And they start fighting, and like Judo Master makes some weird rip on Peacemaker, like calling his body very bony looking or something.
Yep. Yep.
I forgot what the exact words were, but it was very odd. But then he's about to it looks Peacemaker could get the win, but
Yeah.
out of work with the Glock out of the RMKO where and just plugs one in him, and Judo Master goes down for the count, and Peacemaker's
And
like,
like you said, yeah,
I had
it's
him.
like you said, Henry. Yeah, that's the funniest part. It's not that he's not upset that
Oh,
that
because
Judo
Judo
Master is
Master is
dead.
about to say there's something different about the butterflies. They're not what you think they
Yes.
are. So that's crucial. I shouldn't be forgetting
Yes.
that.
But I love that. Peacemaker's not upset about Judo Master dying and losing that information. He literally is just upset that he lost his he didn't get his rematch. He didn't get to finish his rematch, as you pointed out, which was so on character for him. Uh, then Chris starts explaining how you could you could keep yourself alive with your kidney if your heart stops beating. It's just
Athletes, when their heart's shot, their athletes move their kidneys around.
yeah, which just the most absurd, nonsensical thing, which of course Adebayo calls him out for. But yeah, very, very pivotal scene because very big moment for Adebayo, who's previously scared to shoot someone. Now she did it. Um, I want to talk now about so while this is happening, Vigilante purposely gets himself thrown in jail. I forgot he like grabs a garbage can and starts just destroying windows so the cops take
Yeah, he
him.
goes to the back of the prison where all the guards are having their like lunch break or smoke break, and he
Yeah.
hefts up. And then after he does it, he pleads with them. I just injured my pinky toe. Don't be gentle on it.
Hmm.
And then they bring him into jail because Adebayo convinced him to go kill um, uh, Peacemaker's dad. And this is where I think I have one of my favorite moments of the entire episode, because Vigilante knows that Cena's dad is a racist piece of shit.
Yeah. Yep.
He sits down at the table and interviews or tries to interview the White Dragon and his fellow
Hmm.
white master race cronies about their favorite contributions to American culture
I
from
think
Black
Gunther was
America.
at that table. But go on. Sorry. This is the
we oh, oh.
three people understand that reference, but let's continue.
Okay, your audio went out there for a second, but it's good. It's
Sorry.
hopefully it'll be good, and we'll figure it out in post. But yeah, Axel Tischel Jr. and Dieter and Gunther and
Hmm.
Bruce Pritchard were all at that table, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, no, it's weird, and he explains that rock and roll is entirely owed to black Americans, and before that, and that starts a fight. Um, he also makes a reference to people taking liberties with one of these white supremacists' mother. Um,
Hmm.
that's the right way to phrase it. But this fight breaks out, but in the meanwhile, the Argus crew is resetting basically Vigilante's record to like get him out of jail, and
Yep.
eventually Vigilante is brought out. Uh, yeah, Megan brings it up. We might talk a little bit about the name change. I have an idea. We'll talk about. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
Maybe. But so basically, this is a moment that like Hardcore and Adebayo have a conversation, sort of heart to heart about shooting people.
Hmm.
But from this moment on, Hardcore seems a little bit more sullen than I expected, and it's kind of odd throughout the entirety of it. And
It's an interesting flip. Yeah, we realized she might have a softer side to her than we initially realized.
yeah, and it's
Uh,
very. But she brings up she gets Vigilante out of jail, and Vigilante is very sad and like crying on the car ride
yeah.
home. And I think that's what is making Hardcore feel in so emotional. Um,
Yeah.
but um, but everybody hurts now because then Cena visits Hardcore at the bar. Um, he asks her about his record with his dad. He compliments her not in a sexist way, according to Peacemaker. Um,
Yeah.
and then we get the biggest moment of the episode, arguably, when Peacemaker uh, lights up a bong at home. And oh, also we forgot to mention earlier, he's kept a butterfly from the end of episode 3 in
Yeah.
a jar, like a freaking like
Yeah.
it's like he took one of those glow what are they called? What are those like light bugs?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. But yeah, he's got a butterfly in a jar, which
Yeah,
he
I just
in
saw
this
Black
closing month.
Widow. It's the bugs that were in Black Widow in like the beginning and ending, and it's like gonna
Yeah.
kill me. But no, he's held on to one and is like showing that Peacemaker either is dumber or smarter than we think he is, because
Mhm.
he's still very much this inquisitive weirdo about like he's not sure who he can trust. Um,
Yeah.
and he's interrogating it all. And after taking this bong rip, um, Hardcore had told
Can we
him,
just talk
yeah,
about how he hotboxes the butterfly?
that was yeah. He blows like clearly he's got breathing holes in the top of the jar.
Yeah.
They don't show us those explicitly, which is my one of my weird issues with the episode. But Hardcore had told him, um, your dad trained you. What was in your father? What was in your file? Your father trained you to kill at a young age, and I think she mentions his brother,
Yes. Yeah.
and then Peacemaker has these visions. Of
Mhm.
course, while he's like the weed is making him process stuff.
Yeah, so he's having flashbacks to his little brother. We realize I don't know if we still fully understand how his brother died, but we see some of those moments. And yeah, he's just reflecting on all these really sad parts of his life while very high. And it's also just a larger closing montage. We see kind of everyone we see how everyone's in kind of a sad spot right now. Adebayo is ignoring her fiance or her wife. You know,
She's found
we
a
see hard.
clue. It's
Yeah.
and I think in the preview for next episode, Adebayo's found basically a clue to where the butterflies are
Mhm.
working or hiding out somewhere. Um,
Yeah.
and but sorry, continue.
No, that's it. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Like, I think the song that's playing is "House of Pain." I forget by who, but I thought it was a really effective kind of somber way to close this episode. It's like everyone's kind of reflecting on the bad things they've done and gone through. Um, and just when we think that's it, I believe it's was it Mern and Hardcore on the phone together before we get the big reveal. I forget
Adebayo is
or
on the phone.
Adebayo.
Yeah,
It was
because
Mern and Adebayo. Yeah.
Adebayo's found the clue to what's going on with
Mhm.
the way they are, and so she calls up Mern to talk to him about it. And all the while, Mern's been sad and watching a movie that I don't remember the name, which movie it was, but you can sort of tell. You could. They showed us enough of the movie, but he's also been like holding up a jar,
Mm.
and that was when I
Yeah.
sort of figured it out, but I didn't remember it in time until
Yep.
the very end of the episode, where the jar turns out to be, yep, Mern is a butterfly because he's drinking the nectar of the butterflies too.
Yeah, we see the big reveal just like with the family in the previous episode. That big old tongue comes out and he's licking that big bowl like a big butterfly boy. But yeah, very it was again, I did enjoy this episode. It was set up a lot of interesting things, had a lot of really, I thought, like still very hilarious, but also a lot of very emotional, somber moments. And I need to reiterate how much I loved Vigilante in the prison scene. Like that fired me up so much. Him just calling them out for being just racist pieces of trash, and the way the way he had, they established Vigilante as kind of this cowardly little kid, but he was a complete badass in the scene and had zero fear and actively wanted to get into a fight with this very powerful racist. So he really earned my he had zero miedo right there. He
Magan
really earned my
Magan
he
points out
really
it was
earned my
Lethal Weapon
respect
4.
there.
Was
Oh,
Lethal
good.
Weapon 4
Thank
the
you,
TV,
Morgan.
yeah. But yeah, no, it's Vigilante. He didn't get to kill this episode, but he killed this episode. I
Well
gotta say,
said.
it's a very good time was had by all. Um, and so that's sort of the end of the episode, and that means, and that's sort of what I think is sort of the neat part about these scenes of, yes, much like Magan, we are all here for Vigilante fucking up racists. Um, and so, also the auto-complete, I wanted to share this earlier, I forgot. Can you walk without toes, a big toe, kneecaps, and then a pinky toe? So Vigilante his SEO isn't perfect, but he's getting there. Um, he's in the top terms, but it's. I think it's a very good episode, as you said. It was a necessary episode in a way because it helped do more character stuff. Um, it helped establish more of what Peacemaker knows about his father, like the fact that Peacemaker is aware that his father's a racist. Um, and it sets up helps make it more obvious what they're doing with the character arc for Peacemaker, because we are here to see this chode grow, and I can't believe this show.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're halfway through this series now. 4 episodes to go. But yeah, I think these 4 episodes, I think they've accomplished a whole lot, and I am very excited to see where they go next. I mean, it feels like this is building to like a big confrontation with White Dragon as the big bad, but now that Mern is a butterfly, that throws a big wrinkle into things. So very excited to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, okay. So we've had 2 fights between Peacemaker and Judo Master. So we're setting up for the rubber match, because you could say that Peacemaker took round 2. So you're setting up for and then Vigilante didn't get to fight White Dragon, so that'll be at least. But of course, Peacemaker will probably have to save him to show that he does care about him, to sort of
Yep.
make up for the toe torture. And I assume the Argus gang versus Mern might be a thing. Next week's episode showed the Argus gang going into the plant where the honey seems to be made. So that to look forward to, which almost seems a bit soon. But you know, and on that
One
note,
important question for you, Henry, before we sign off. Did you let the intro scene play upon every rewatch of this episode?
you mean the
The music.
the music? Yeah, no. Sorry, the opening credits. You always
Yeah.
let the
The
Tron
opening
roll.
credits.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Yeah.
the only thing I ever press skip on is whatever HBO Max is promoting before the episode.
Oh, I
Because
hate that so bad. Yeah,
it's
I don't need commercials in my paid
yeah,
service.
like there are
Anyway,
two
that's a
tiers.
whole other.
No, we're in the no. there is an unpaid HBO Max tier, and we're still getting an ad.
Yep.
But this is just like how the WWE Network was supposed to be ad free, but it turned out not. But hey, companies can't be taken for their word. Surprising. Um, Before we go, this might get edited out. Who knows? But Mike, if you had to describe one word, and we're going to keep it short. Well, your reaction to Walter did not win this match. Gunther won this match. What did you think? One word.
Why?
Son of a was mine. All one word. Because just like.
So yeah, for those that are still with us, this is just the 2 minutes of wrestling talk. The one thing I just want to say on that, this is the first time ever, because all right, we've been watching WWE forever, watching wrestling forever.
Yeah.
Characters get renamed, repackaged all the time. Usually they disappear for a bit. There's some promos leading up to it. This is the first time I've ever seen a character straight up win a match and just say, "Oh, by the way, this is my new name now."
Yeah.
I almost respect
There's a few things about this. I think we're gonna get it again soon. To be honest, it feels like they're setting up Dewdrop to actually go back to Piper Niven.
Which would be a good decision.
Because I think they've actually copyrighted Piper Niven recently or trademarked it. Yeah, Morgan says MFer was his reaction in the moment. No, I think this is the first time I've seen anything like this. This is also the first time I think that somebody has appeared on main roster and NXT and then changed their name, except for Duke Hudson. Because the whatever he was before he was the world's worst poker player, he did have a Raw appearance as
he was
whatever.
Brendan Vink.
Yeah, the Vink. Yeah. He was the Vink. Brendan Vink did show up on Raw, so. But then again, Brendan Vink didn't set records in the company for title reigns, so that's like the canonical like.
I'm just scared to see what they do to Pete Dunne.
You mean PD Knuckles?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Joey Fingers.
I don't know where I don't know what company you put Pete Dunne. I don't know where he ends up because like.
Well, the good thing, at least they gave they killed him canonically on TV, so he could come back as. It'll make more sense when he comes back as something else. He'll rise out of the coffin with some cool name.
As one of Tony D'Angelo's new when they have the Army of the Dead 2 zombie match, you can have Pete Dunne come back there.
A new European faction is forming. We got Italy, England.
The League of Nations 2022.
Yeah.
But on that note, we're going to end this part of the chat. Probably next week we'll talk about what we did tonight because Mike and I are going to see each other IRL for the World on GCW at the Hammerstein Ballroom. So we will talk to all of y'all later.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, if you guys are watching live and you happen to be going to Hammerstein tonight, definitely say hi. But yeah, very excited. It's going to be a very good day of wrestling, and you will hear all our thoughts about it probably next week.
As always, Mike is at Ghost Tour Rocks on social media. I actually have that now in the graphics. And you can find his work on CNN_, mine on Tom Ass's Guide. And yeah, that was Cinephiles episode 4. Cinephiles Season 2, Episode 2, covering Peacemaker Episode 4. Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with Peacemaker Episode 5, whatever it's titled. Looking forward to what happens next and how we learn more about what the hell are these butterflies. So, on that note, see you later, Mike.
Peace out.